Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by real fans for real movies. You can find us all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. And if you're a fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/HolyBatCast. No pressure, but a big thank you to all of you who have done it. It really does mean a lot, and it makes our lives so much easier. So thank you for that. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Threads. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. We are celebrating another anniversary this week, a 5-year anniversary, and you probably all knew it was coming. We're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League 5 years later, but it's a very special occasion. So we're going to talk about the first half of the film because we're doing a crossover, and that means you got to tune in for the second half on the other show. I'm sure you know who's joining us, but let's get started. First of all, part of the BatCast family, Brendan Lowe is here. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we?
Great. Ready to talk about a 4-hour movie in 8 hours of podcasting.
Yep, correct.
Well, good to have you back.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. And we have some special guests from our pals over at The Fire Rises. The guys who usually get a mention on every episode of this podcast. And we usually get a mention on every episode of their podcast because, we're just that connected. So first of all, the producer of The Fire Rises, it's Eric Carter. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Andy. Thank you guys for having us and doing another crossover. This is so much fun when we get to do this and really a huge occasion to do this with this film. But yeah, glad to be back and absolutely you guys get a ton of mentions on The Fire Rises.
Well, Brendan talked me into it, honestly. He goes, they're going to do theirs, we're going to do ours. Why don't we just do it together?
It's true. It's going to happen.
Just own it. It's fine.
There's been a couple of times recently where we've dropped the same thing without, any prior discussion that each podcast was going to do it. We did it at Christmas time and we did it again earlier this year. I can't remember what the topic was, but we did another one, only a little while ago. So it was just like, well, we're both going to do Justice League. Why don't we just team up?
Yeah. Brendan, I feel like we should cover the comic of the death of Superman next. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Just, something different. Anyway, you can't have Eric without the next guy. And, Jamie had finally buried the hatchet with Brendan just for us to bring this other guy on who also has a bone to pick with Brendan. It's Joe Fortunato.
Well, that's actually how this started. Was I asked Andy to be on our show, and it kind of got out there, and we had to, somehow find a way to incorporate Brendan. So that's why I'm here. And also, I'm happy that I finally get to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm actually talking about it on your show before Eric let me talk about it on our show.
Oh, I forgot about this drama. Please continue.
Yeah. No, that's it. I let it go. It's over. It's fine.
I can expand a bit. So in the early days of The Fire Rises, we were trying to figure things out. We didn't know what it was going to be. Joe really was not set as a solid co-host. I don't even know if he wanted to be one at the time. So we went through some episodes where it was just like I was going with a different guest every time. And
I know this story all too well, but continue.
Well, I was negotiating my contract still.
He was. Yeah. And so we got to Zack Snyder's Justice League and I had someone else on. And years later, Joe's never let me forget it.
Oh, well, I'm excited to finally hear Joe's thoughts about the movie since his co-host is a right bastard who just doesn't care about him.
And we've never discussed the movie before.
Yeah, that's true. Never, not once. No, it's funny. I did the exact same thing. Part of the reason I started Holy BatCast was I was like, well, it's not contingent on anyone but me. I can have whoever I want on whenever I want. And because Real Fans already we were dealing with scheduling stuff. And then, you kind of fall into a groove and it's like, well, nope. Then you end up kind of with your regular co-host, which doesn't mean you can't bring on others, but you kind of fall into something regular. So I get it. I hear you.
Or you get stuck with Brendan.
Yeah. And then you end up with Brendan and you just can't get rid of him. He's like,
guys
herpes.
retire and all that.
Yeah.
What's really funny is I started listening to a chunk of our original Zack Snyder's Justice League podcast yesterday.
Oh, really?
And I got about an hour into it, and in that episode, you referred to me as a rash as well.
Oh my! Well, see, Something's never changed.
Nothing if not consistent.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd be curious to listen to that because I don't remember what we said. But anyway,
does that make Brendan a 5-year itch at this point?
No, he is a lifelong infection. Like
okay. I'm a 10-year itch at this stage. I've been here for a decade, my friend.
Well, before we go any further, I do want to say thank you for having me on, because we went on a tangent there and I was busting everyone's shots. But thank you for having us on. It is really fun to come on here all the time, and it's nice that I can, I can bust Brendan's chops now and feel comfortable, as opposed to the days when I was first on here and I was kind of nicer to him.
You didn't realize yet.
Yeah.
But the good news is that we're going to pause the Justice League talk, and we're going to talk about nothing but popcorn buckets. So you and Brendan can just take that away.
I cannot
let them fight.
Well, it has been 5 years since the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. We are about a month late, but hey, oh well, tough shit. Because like we were talking about scheduling, we had to make sure that we could all do this and make it work. So a month late, but not that bad. And because it is one epic, crazy long movie with so much to talk about, we are going to cover the first half here, and then again you'll jump over to The Fire Rises for the second half. So without further ado, it is time to talk about 5 years of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Before we get to the movie itself, 5 years later, I want to talk a little bit of memories and maybe a little reflection of like how you're feeling 5 years later. So, Brendan, why don't you start us off? Memories of the film, and then how do you feel these days?
Well, honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'm not kidding, every time I think of this movie, is I think of that morning in 2020 when it was just announced out of nowhere, and you were in China at the time, so the time difference wasn't as crazy, and we were messaging, and it was like, you want to record? And we jumped on, and it was the sun still hadn't come up where I was at the time. I was in my old house, and COVID and everything else. That's literally one of the first memories I have whenever I think of this movie is us finding out, not being able to believe it, and recording about it straight away.
Nice.
But yeah, it's still 5 years on. It's still one of those things where it's just like I still can't believe we got it. You know, like it was talked about what felt like forever. Like, you know, you look back now, it was only, 3 years after the release of, well, not even 3 years. It was, 2.5, I think, from when we got the theatrical release to when they announced this was coming. And it felt like forever that people were fighting for it, and all the campaigns and the hashtags and everything else. And we've had it we've had it longer than what we had to wait for it, and it still has that little bit of a surreal feeling around it that we actually got it. I'm very, very thankful that we did. I'm not here to shit on the theatrical. We all know it's a weaker film. I haven't watched it since this has come out because, look, I'm not going to, bury the lead here or anything. Watching this again the other night, I messaged a friend of ours, and I was just like, I genuinely think this is one of the best, most epic superhero movies ever made. It's amazing. Like, it's not perfect, but in terms of the story it tells with the characters that it does, and it's such a good Justice League movie. It's such a good DC movie, and I don't understand people that don't like it, to be perfectly honest. Yes, it's long, but it's amazing. I could watch another hour of it. I really could.
Yeah. What's funny is you said it wasn't that long. It was 3 years while people were fighting for this. And 3 years is a long time, though, for that sort of campaign. It was a long and intense 3 years. So it definitely felt long because it was just a lot, and it was constant. It was daily, and it was there was so much of that turmoil and drama and all that crap, which, you know, we all are still recovering from.
Yeah.
Eric, what about you? Your memories of the film?
Yeah, very, very similar to Brendan, which I think we're all going to have some similarities here just because of how this happened. But I remember watching the Man of Steel stream on Vero.
Yes. Yeah.
We were watching the commentary with Zack Snyder, and he brought on Henry Cavill, and at the end, I mean, I think everybody was watching it because they love Zack and they love Man of Steel, but I think everybody watching that stream was expecting something. Because it just felt that way. And sure enough, I mean, Henry basically spilled the beans at the end of that stream, and it was just, I've been excited for a lot of superhero films, but I don't know that I can like recapture the energy or the excitement I felt when they said, yeah, we're doing it, because it just felt like such this mythical unicorn that was never going to happen. And for better or worse, it did. I'm so grateful that we've got this. Like Brendan said, it's such an epic, and I agree with him. I think one of the greatest superhero films ever made, although it does have some flaws, and we'll get into that. But it feels so unattainable. It's just like crazy that we have it. And I love that we have it, because this is just like the longer epics that I love to dive into, like Lord of the Rings. I will take the extended edition. Love the theatrical. In this case, it's a little different story, but I love sitting in an epic, immersive world for that long. So yeah, 5 years on, I'm just as thrilled that we have it today.
Awesome. And Joe, what about you?
I mean, yeah, pretty much the same thing. I remember watching that commentary too, and I'm shocked it was only 2.5 years. When Brendan said that, I didn't think about it. But you're right, it felt a lot longer than 2.5 years. That 2.5 years felt a lot longer than the 5 since the movie's been released. It's pretty crazy. Like, as much as we all wanted this and hoped for it, I don't think I ever truly believed we would get it. And the fact that
I didn't.
Yeah, like there was the people that like swore it didn't exist, and then there were the people that swore we would never get it. I knew it existed, but I didn't think we would ever get it. And I think the fact that we did get it, and we got a different version even than what we probably would have originally gotten, is crazy too. And we'll get into that, I think, a little more. But yeah, it's just, like you guys have already said, the unattainable goal of getting this is just surreal, and it still is kind of surreal. And you know, the alternate timeline that could have been if we got this originally, there are so many things that went into just the behind the scenes stuff, and just all that stuff just kind of comes back anytime I watch it. I can't not think of all that stuff when we watch the movie. I can appreciate the movie for what it is as a whole, but it's hard not to go beyond that and just appreciate everything else that went into it and surrounded it and all that stuff. I still remember the surreal nature of like waking up in the morning to watch the whole thing though. Like, because I mean, that's such a rare thing, right? To wake up in the morning and watch a Justice League movie for the first time in your home. Like, what the hell? Like, it's so weird. But I don't know if I had off work or took off work, but there was no way I wasn't going to watch it when it first released. So yeah, it was it's definitely something.
Yeah. It did too. It felt like a movie premiere, like, you know, but at home, like I had a friend over and we made a big deal of it. Like, we had a dinner and that sort of thing, and we all sat down and watched it together when we finished work. But it did, like, they had like the red carpet premiere and stuff that I was streaming on the day of the release, and it was so bizarre to have that big build up feeling and then just be able to watch it on the couch at home.
Yeah, because I think it premiered here at like 5 a.m. or something like that. That's what HBO Max used to do, was like 5 or 6 a.m., something like that. And I remember just waking up whenever I woke up. I woke up early and just started watching it like the minute I got
up. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all you guys said about just how surreal it is, because it was one of those things that honestly I never thought it was going to come out. I could never see WB kind of admitting their mistake and then coughing up money to release this thing that they weren't going to release. Like, I just didn't see that happening. It's rare that a movie studio swallows their pride and actually would do something like this. And I still am not sure this would have happened without the pandemic, because
I was just about to say,
There
I don't
so
think it would
many
have.
things. Yeah.
So, silver lining to COVID, I guess. I mean, as horrible as that time was, like, it gave them excuse to do this, and at least we got this out of it. So yeah, completely agree with all of that. My memory is, yes, thinking, you know what, it's never going to happen. And so I had long given up hope, and then it came to be, and super grateful for it. But what I really remember about it is that I did take the day off. I called in for work. Again, I was in China, so timing was different, but I remember calling in, taking the day, laying on my couch, and watching the whole thing on my iPad. Because in China, that was the best way to watch it. It is not the ideal way to watch it. So I was really happy watching it last night and the day before that I got to watch it on my big TV. But yep, the first time I watched it, it was on an iPad, because that was the way I had to do it. But that's how excited I was. We're like, I'm taking the day off work and I am just going to watch Justice League. And that night, there was like a work dinner situation. It was like a birthday party for one of the executives who we were kind of close with. And Catherine went to that dinner, and I was like, no, sorry, I'm watching Justice League. And so they were like, Andy is sick. So I missed out on the dinner. I'm glad I did, because apparently it was a huge mess, and didn't sound like I missed anything. And I was like, no, I was perfectly happy on the couch watching Justice League. So I remember Catherine after being like, Andy's sick, he couldn't come. But yeah, as far as the movie itself, it is a very satisfying redemption for the film and for the legacy of the film, that we finally got to see Zack's version, or, to your point, Joe, one of Zack's versions. Like you said, I don't think this would have been the version we would have gotten had he stayed on as the director and it released in 2017. But we got to see, quote unquote, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And as you all said, I love it. I think it was you, Brendan. Like, I can't understand how a DC fan could not like it, or at least not like most of it, right? We all have our little nitpicks. Like you guys said, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect Justice League film. But if you'd let me make a couple little tweaks, it could be a perfect Justice League film, because it's that close. It's so freaking good. It is epic. What you said, Eric, is so true. And I think it was a Roger Ebert quote, which is, no good movie is too long and no bad movie is too short. Mm-hmm. And so when it's a movie that I absolutely love and I can get sucked into, I don't care how long it is, because if I want to be in that world. And that is how I feel about the Lord of the Rings and the Middle Earth films. And that's how I feel about this film, is I am so happy to be in that world. You know what? Give me 4 hours. And the fact that I've never seen this in a theater, it means I can always pause and get something to eat or go to the bathroom if I need to. Not a problem. So you don't have the theater issue with long movies, because this was never that. But yeah, so for this movie and this world that I love, this universe that I love, and these characters that I love, I just, it is so cool to just immerse yourself in it and spend that time for 4 hours and really get sucked into it, because there's just so much in there. There's a lot to love. And it's one of those where I am ashamed to admit I have not watched it a lot over the past 5 years, but that is only because of length. Like, who's got 4 hours? I mean, it sounds like Eric does, but I don't, because we all have small kids. Eric's kids just leave the house, and Eric's like, I guess I'm going to buy another hot toy and watch Justice League again. That must be awesome. It sounds great, but I ain't going to find 4 hours. So, it was really fun to do that. And yeah, like my biggest regret is just finding the time to revisit it. But when I do revisit it, it's special. And that's how it was the past couple days.
I haven't watched it in one sitting since it came out.
Yeah.
I think I've at least broken it up into 2 parts every time I've watched it since then.
That is a big plus of the chapters.
Yeah, the chapters are a huge lifesaver.
Yeah, that's true. And when it came out, like, obviously I watched it that first day, and then Catherine and I watched it a couple days later. And then I think I watched it again pretty shortly thereafter. But yeah, once the kids were born, I have not gone back to this since. And again, it's not for lack of want. It's just the nature of the world. So yeah, it's cool to set aside the time and to dedicate it to it.
Yeah, I've rarely watched 2-hour movies in one setting now. So
Yeah, it was a month or two ago where I was chatting with another friend, Phil Durasmo, and he goes, "Oh, I started this movie tonight and I'll finish it tomorrow." And I was like, "I guess I just have to accept my fate that is what I need to do from now on." I didn't want to. I was rejecting that. I want to watch the whole thing, but when you've got small kids, it's like, nope, if you want to watch a new movie, sometimes you just got to do that. And so I accepted it, and so be it. And yeah, I've had to do that quite a bit now, where watch the first half after the kids go to bed, watch the second half tomorrow. And
Well,
those are just regular movies.
I watched this over 5 weeks.
Wow.
get into the subtitle. You're in the subtitle phase, Andy. Now you're in the multi-night movie phase. It's
it's great. You know what?
Yeah.
They're trade-offs, but it's all worth it.
Yep.
So let's get to the movie itself. Like I said, for this episode, we're going to get through the first half, and we all agreed that the first half is through part 4. There are 6 chapters, but then there's the epilogue, which is really a 7th chapter. And after part 4 feels like the natural halfway point, and that's also where the discs separate. So I did watch these on the 4K Blu-ray, which I had never put in before, so it gave me an excuse to do that too. So yeah, we're going to cover disc 1 on this episode, which is opening through part 4, and then we will do part 5, 6, and epilogue over on The Fire Rises. But before we get part 1, it's the opening credits. And the opening credits, I got to say, first of all, I just love how it picks up immediately from Batman versus Superman. And we get that moment of Superman's death, and you can literally see that death send shockwaves throughout the entire DC universe. Like, what an amazing opening to the movie. And I remember going, oh, okay, this is so great, because I think we all agree, I think we've all talked about it, is that Man of Steel, BVS, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League make for an amazing cohesive trilogy. And it's things like that make it feel so cohesive, where yeah, you start Justice League and it begins with Superman's death.
Yeah, it's hugely impactful too. I mean, just because, of course, the death of Superman should be that impactful, but the fact that it's like a dinner bell for these beings is wild, and that launches the mother boxes. It's insanity.
Yeah, and again, to see it reverberate through Atlantis, through Themyscira. You get a quick glimpse of Cyborg in there. Like, it's just interesting to see. Yeah, like this one death starts the chain reaction. I think that is amazing, and it's like beautiful to look at, like the slow-mo and the way it all moves around and everything. So yeah, that hooks me immediately, and it also feels very stylistically similar to the opening credits for Batman versus Superman.
Oh, 100%. It's funny, like in BVS, like he drops the title card. It's so subtle. Like, it's not like a big, like, fucking Batman versus, you know what I mean? Like, it's just in the corner of the, the scene with the movie theater. And this is the same. Like, it's just this tiny little print with Cyborg in the background.
And it's on, with Cyborg of all the frames to do it on. But yeah, it's so funny because with like the Watchmen, Zack Snyder did this really extravagant opening title sequence. And you're right, for BVS and for this, it's a lot more understated.
And look, I'll be honest, I don't want to spend this whole thing talking about what is and what isn't in each version. But to this day, still, when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, that opening credit sequence from the theatrical was not Zack. Like, but it felt like I was watching in the theater going, well, this is Zack Snyder, because it felt like Watchmen. Like, it felt like that big, bold montage, and it felt like what a Justice League movie, I don't want to say deserved, but you know what I mean? Like, it felt that kind of an occasion. And it's not. It went back to the very, very subtle opening credits.
Well, now it comes off as it just feels like someone trying to do a Zack Snyder.
But in the moment, it was like, wow, that's really cool. Exactly. This is totally Zack.
I'm not going to pretend like I knew. I think there was a lot of speculation with all that stuff. But I also just love the emotion. We get the different perspectives from Superman's death from BVS. So we get to zoom in on all 3 characters witnessing his death. You get Lois, you get Diana, and you get Bruce, just like the zoom in, taking up the whole frame of the image, and it's just all emotion. It's quiet, like again, subtlety. Everything is starting out very somber and very subtle. It's not what we expected to start a Justice League movie, but it picks up right where the last one left off, which is just, again, it just had like that special feel to it.
Also, like our only glimpse of Batman in the suit for the first 2 hours of the movie.
Yeah. You know, I didn't notice that until 2 nights ago when I was watching it, and I was like, wait a minute. You're right. There's the glimpse in the opening credits, and then he does not suit up until the rooftop with Gordon.
Never even occurred to me till just now.
Yeah. It didn't occur until 2 nights ago.
What's funny is I said before we recorded, I think it was before we recorded. No, it wasn't. I listened to some of the original podcast yesterday, and Andy, you had the exact same conversation.
Did I?
Yeah, you didn't realize.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
And you know what? I didn't realize until I listened back. And you know, I'd pointed it out to you originally back in 2021. That's like, yeah, he doesn't show up for ages, and since then I've never thought of it. I'm too enthralled in the story that I don't miss, you know, Ben not in costume.
Yeah, totally.
I knew it was
agree.
a while. I didn't know it was 2 hours.
Right. Well, and that's you get so much of Bruce that I don't really think about it, and there's so much other things going on. But yeah, that's funny. Well, like you said, Brendan, I am making a conscious effort to not spend this time comparing the theatrical version with Zack Snyder's version. I think there's a time and a place for that. It's probably not tonight because there is a lot of that, and if we go down that road, it becomes its own thing. But I definitely felt that when I was watching it, where there were moments where I was like waiting for a line of dialogue, and I was like, "Oh wait, nope, that's the other one." And just a couple little moments where I couldn't help.
Such a weird, unique situation, hey, for a movie. It's so bizarre.
Yep, it really, really is. The fact that we have two versions of quote unquote the same movie that are like 60% the same, maybe 50% the same.
And
like,
anytime I watch this, the first thing Max recommends me is the theatrical. I'm like, why would I do that? I'll just watch this.
You just enjoyed a burrito. What if I make you another one? It's exactly the same, and then I drop it on the ground and I step on it. Do you want that one? You want that one too?
And you only get half of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm going to cut it in half. Anyway, regardless, but yes, I'm trying to not do that because we were talking, and I'm like, you know what is next year, guys? Next year is the 10th anniversary of the theatrical cut,
which is crazy in itself.
So you know what? Mark your calendar.
I'm thinking audio commentary.
Yeah, mark your calendars. Joe thought I was joking when I said it earlier. No, we're doing it. It's on. Anyway, you get the cool opening credits, badass, and then we start part one. Part one, don't count on it, Batman. Quote directly from Arthur. And so part one does start with that, sequence where Bruce goes to recruit Arthur. Where are they? Do we know? Greenland, Iceland?
Somewhere like
North Norway. I don't know where they are.
Nordic. Yeah,
it's Nordic. Yeah, that's basically all we know is because of the poem or the song is. That's the only reason I ever knew that it was somewhere, and I would assume,
which we all agree doesn't need to be.
So when I said I need about 10 tweaks, the weird song is one of them.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where like I love this movie, but there's a couple moments like this where I'm like, Zack Snyder's just got a Zack Snyder. He's just going to do his thing.
I watch it every time, and I'm like, why would you even film this? Like, it's going to get cut. Like,
I feel like I remember reading that they were locals, and he wanted to do it in tribute to them. And I could be completely wrong in reaching here. And it probably is one of those things where he filmed it thinking it'd be a cool extra. And then once he had basically, I'm going to butcher the phrase,
carte blanche. Yeah.
Basically, once he had that, he's like, screw it. Let me put everything in. And I don't blame him.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird moment where you're like, I don't know.
It's so early into the movie, and it pulls you out of it.
I think if it was a little shorter, but
It's when the background singers kick in for me, because at the first time I saw this movie, I remember being like, "Oh, this is a choice," and then they kick in, and I'm like, "Whoa, we're just really going for it here."
Yeah. Well, in the extended cut, which is coming out next year, there's backup dancers. Yes, yeah. All the women tear off their clothes. They're wearing like sparkly dance outfits, and it full on production number.
I get what I get what they were going for with the they see him as a god. You're paying tribute to him, but it's just it goes on a little too long.
Yeah, Snyder's gonna Snyder, and it's just moments like that where you're like, okay, Zach, we love you, but do what you got to do. Anyway, you got Bruce recruiting Arthur. You've got Lois visiting Heroes Park. Cool cameo from Jimmy Olsen. Mm-hmm. You know, you can see that she's still in mourning over Superman. You also have like the big opening action sequence, which is Wonder Woman saving the kids in the courthouse. And then finally, right from there, you get the arrival of Steppenwolf and Themyscira with the mother box. And then that leads to one of the best, well, not one of the, but there's so many great sequences. That seems silly to say, but yeah, a great sequence amongst many great sequences, which is them playing essentially keep away with very high stakes with that mother box between Steppenwolf and the Amazons. So there's a lot of great stuff here to kick it off. You get a lot of great good character stuff with Bruce and Arthur and Lois checking in on her. You get that Zack Snyder cameo at the coffee shop, which I can never not look at him. It's like, you know, it's like Hitchcock and the Hitchcock movies where I'm like, hey, Zach, how you doing? But then I appreciate that we get the really cool action pretty early on with Wonder Woman and with the Amazons.
Which makes sense.
Eric, what about you? The chapter 1 or part 1, overall thoughts?
I love the setup of this. I mean, it slowly eases you into the big action sequences near the end of the chapter with Wonder Woman and then Themyscira, which are both phenomenal sequences. But just the setup in the beginning of Bruce being on this recruiting trail, and that's a direct follow up from BVS, where he's, you know, he knows something's coming. He's got to put the team together. So it feels so natural. Yeah. And one moment, and I know you're doing a recap, but there's one moment that I can't, you know, let fall by the wayside is the sequence. It's really short, but it's Martha pulling away from the farm, and the foreclosure sign is on the farm. It's
dude, that's John Jones, man.
That's
John Jones.
We'll talk about that later.
He packed up Martha's house for her. That's how committed he is to playing the role.
I digress. But
Martha's actually not in this movie at all. It's in the
Whoa, she died. She died between movies. So I'm sorry. All joking aside, yes, please continue.
No, yeah, you're touching on one of my biggest nitpicks of the movie, but in this sequence, I truly believe it is Martha. So her losing her house is devastating. It's really sad. But then, like you said, I mean, the highlight of this entire chapter is Themyscira. The Amazons are so badass. I don't think I can. They get any cooler than, you know, show him your fear. We have no fear. That's such a cool moment. And I think this was what established for me, oh, this is not gonna, because I had this fear with how they had to put it together. I had this fear of, is this gonna look like a TV movie? And when we got that Themyscira sequence, I knew, okay, no, this is on a grand scale, because that looks amazing.
Yeah, and just something, because we're talking about it, what I love, aside from just how awesome that Themyscira sequence is I love how quickly they set up the stakes of how unstoppable Steppenwolf is. Like how he goes up against this literal army of Amazons, trained warriors, and they are nothing to him. He swats them away like flies. And so you already go, oh my God, like this guy is tough as nails. Like no one hero could take him on. This is why we need the Justice League. And I think those stakes are set very well. I'll also say, if you go back in the old episode, since that's what Brendan seems to be doing and reminding you what I've said is I am kind of a defender of the alternate design of Steppenwolf.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needed another render, but I actually do like it. But the sequence with the Themyscirans is what really sold me on this Steppenwolf, especially the moment when he's got all the arrows in him and he uses the armor to crack them all. I was like, okay, shit, awesome, I'm in. Great job.
And throughout the entire movie, every time I watch this movie, I find myself paying more and more attention to his armor. It's constantly moving.
Yeah.
Like that cannot have been easy to render, and they did such a good job with it.
The CG on Steppenwolf is amazing. Not just the armor, but even just his face. Like the way his face looks so real and like flesh, and it's kind of a perfect render. So it's things like that when I see how good he looks and how real he looks, where I go, okay, well, at least that extra money they spent, went to a good cause because you can see it in the movie.
And I don't think there's a villain with more soulful eyes than this Steppenwolf.
Well, little damaged puppy dog Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
The thing I've always been curious about is
Eric, about how you were worried about it being like a TV production or something like that. I think Zach even said like that was part of the negotiation where he's like, listen, if we're doing this, I'm not putting it out just to put it out because then you guys win. If I put out a lesser or inferior version, then it looks like you guys did the right thing by not releasing it. So that was like something he was pretty adamant on, was we're going to do this and make sure it looks like a finished film. And I'm with you, Andy. I like the design of Steppenwolf from the original Justice League. It's actually more comic accurate. And I agree, though, the render was just bad. The CGI wasn't finished for some reason. But this
they were out of time.
Yeah.
we know they were out of time.
And then with this version, it works on screen, and that's what makes you buy into this version. Because looking at this version, I wasn't into it at all.
Same.
But when you see it on screen and how it's being used on screen, that's when it really sold it to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're very similar. Like, yes, I want it to be comic accurate. I want it to look like the comics, but I can be won over. And that's a perfect example of how you do it. The Tumbler is another good example. I didn't like it in pictures, and then I saw the movie and I was like, nope, never mind. It's awesome. So it can happen. And Steppenwolf was definitely like that. Brendan, chapter 1, part 1, thoughts?
And the one thing I really like about it is that is very Wonder Woman and Themyscira heavy. And I've always been curious if that was by design, because chronologically, if this had come out when it did, or when it was supposed to, like it would have been right off the back of Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, obviously, they wouldn't have known at the time, but was a huge success. So, seeing all of this stuff off the back of what is one of my favorite superhero movies ever in Wonder Woman, I've always really enjoyed this first chapter. I remember the complaints about the outfits and everything, and it's just like they don't wear the same thing every day. Like they've got lots of battle armor and everything. Like who gives a shit? But no, it's a really interesting first chapter, and that game of Keep Away is awesome. And I always think of Jamie watching that because I remember how much he loved watching the Themysciran army kick ass in Wonder Woman. And from memory, he loved this as well. But I always think of Jamie watching this scene because I just know how much he'd love it.
Well, especially because like
God rest his soul.
Yeah, R.I.P. Jamie. But like Hippolyta, we loved her. She got to kick ass in Wonder Woman, and it was nice that there was even a place for her to do that in this movie. I think that is, like you said, it's great. It's like you get that little mini Wonder Woman sequel at the beginning of this.
Yes. Yeah.
And her saving the kids from the courthouse is like just
so good.
It's just complete badass Wonder Woman action. Like how quickly she moves when she deflects all those bullets from the machine gun. Like it's such a great sequence.
I mean, Zack and his bloodstains aside, you didn't need to have that in there, but it's still a kick-ass Wonder Woman scene. It's really good.
You know, I've never had that distinct issue with the Wonder Woman stuff because I mean she is shown as kind of a ruthless warrior in several
Oh, she flat
adaptations.
out kills the terrorists in the end. Like, you see the hat float down to the bottom. Like, she just blows them away.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in other mediums like animation and stuff, she's pretty ruthless when it comes to war. So it's something I've never really had that problem with the blood splatters.
It just, he literally spent money to add more blood, which is like, you just didn't need it. You know, you didn't need it. But that aside, it's just a fantastic sequence, and I absolutely love it.
And the heart at the end of it is that's the stuff where, again, we don't want to critique so much from the theatrical to this, but the moment where she has that just one-to-one moment with the little girl, it's like, that was just such a special moment and such a heartfelt moment. How could someone watch this cut and think, no, this isn't going to work? You know, or just moments like that. But just to your point, Andy, too, talking about how Steppenwolf kind of laid waste to the Themyscirans. It's really cool, though, how they made Steppenwolf look unstoppable without making the Warriors look helpless. Like, they still come off badass the entire fight. They just lose the fight.
Well, yeah, and they give it to their very last. Like, they know they're going to die, but that is how committed they are. And you're right. Like, they fight till their last breath. It's just, he is just so much more powerful, and yeah, you set that up.
Mm-hmm.
So go on to part 2, the Age of Heroes. We get to see Steppenwolf set up shop at the nuclear fallout area in Russia. You get a little Bruce and Alfred back and forth on the plane. They're talking about the recruiting and trying to find Barry Allen. We see and meet Silas Stone, who's working now on the Kryptonian ship. Hippolyta realizes they have to warn Diana, so they are going to light the fire, and she shoots that arrow halfway across the world, which is actually pretty badass. We see Diana working at the Louvre. Again, Silas doing his thing, and I think this is where we meet Ryan Choi, right? We meet him from the beginning, but I don't think they reveal his name until the end. Am I remembering that?
Call him Ryan.
Yeah. Which, again, that was one of those things, of all the things about Zack Snyder's Justice League or his cut that we were like, oh, well, that's missing. And what about this? And like, there were different things, Easter egg setups that we knew to expect. Ryan Choi was not one of them. That one kind of flew under the radar. So that was just a really nice surprise. And I appreciate they tried setting him up, and we never saw him again, but I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Diana gets the arrow. She goes down into the tomb, and then she learns the history of Darkseid and Steppenwolf and the war that happened. We get a little more time with Arthur, with Aquaman. This is where he saves the guy, stops in the bar, gets washed away in the waves, and then runs into Vulko. So Willem Dafoe is completely missing from the other version, right? But he's here. And so we get a little bit of that background between Vulko and Arthur. And then we see Steppenwolf called Desaad. So we set up kind of what's going on with Steppenwolf. He's shamed, and he owes this debt to Darkseid, and Desaad is just pretty ruthless with him. And then that leads to Diana visiting Bruce, where Bruce is working on the Flying Fox. And then Diana shares what she learned from the cave about Darkseid and Steppenwolf and the history of the war that happened long ago between the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and humans, fighting off the forces of Apocalypse, and a Green Lantern, fighting off the forces of Apocalypse here on Earth. And so that big epic history lesson is where part 2 ends. So, Joe, why don't you kick us off on this one?
Well, I mean, I guess as far as like the real, what's the word I'm looking for here? Sorry, I'm at a loss of words. The like the real meat and potatoes of the movie. This to me is one of the lesser chapters as far as like all the action and everything. This is more of just setup, and the Age of Heroes thing is awesome. Like, that's one of those things where we got a little bit of a taste in the theatrical, and then we see like the real thing here. We get the original version of Darkseid, where this was just Steppenwolf in the theatrical. But this chapter itself, there's a lot of like little moments here and there. And I think because when I think about all these chapters, I'm amazed every time I watch this at how many action beats are actually in this movie. I feel like we get 3 movies worth of action in this one movie that's 4 hours long.
Yeah, so much.
It's so much. But yeah, this, like, again, we get just a lot of little moments for each character to shine. And like we talked about how we don't get Bruce in the suit. I think Zach did a good job of kind of just saying, like, listen, we had a full movie, Batman vs Superman, where we got a lot of Batman stuff. Obviously, he's given us 2 movies of Superman. Superman's on the sideline here. So he took enough time with those characters. So in the beginning of this one, he really wanted to focus on the characters we haven't seen. Granted, Wonder Woman, we got a solo movie, but Zach didn't really get to use her very much. So we get small moments with her here. We get a small moment with Aquaman. We're getting a lot of setup still with Cyborg and his father, seeing where that's going. I mean, there's just a lot really to just dive into with the character stuff still. I guess this is more of like, again, the character stuff setting up what's coming in the next few chapters. But the Age of Heroes thing, I mean, that's what this is about. This chapter is about the history lesson. And we get so much fun stuff in that. We get to see Zeus. We get to see Green Lantern, a Green Lantern. No, was the Green Lantern in the theatrical? I think he was, right?
He was, yeah.
But it was just, I don't think, oh crap. What is the Themysciran that was not in the one that passed away?
Antiope?
Antiope. Was she in the theatrical version? I don't think she was, right?
I can't remember either. I thought she was, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But your point is valid. Is like it's cool that like Robin Wright, because she was in Wonder Woman, she gets a pretty small cameo here, but there's that great connective tissue. David Thewlis, who played Ares, is Ares here, even though he's on like he's like got a big CG muscle body, which is definitely not David Thewlis. But it's funny that like they went to the trouble of still making that David Thewlis. I mean, he's even in the opening credits, and he's only in here for one couple seconds. But again, I appreciate that continuity between them, where in this big epic battle sequence we get the callbacks to the rest of the universe. So that's pretty awesome. And you're right, like so. Something that both Eric and I both mentioned is we compared this to Lord of the Rings. And I remember seeing, when the trailers came out, there was a lot of comparisons to Lord of the Rings. And like that comparison is very apt. And it's sequences like this where I was like, no, this is a Lord of the Rings scale battle. It's just within the DC universe. And so saying that this is the Lord of the Rings of superhero movies, I do not think is inappropriate. It's very actually.
Zach admitted that. Zach has even been very forthright about saying he wanted this to be more like a Lord of the Rings trilogy than lack of a better term, MCU.
Yeah, and it absolutely is because of things like this. Like it's that scale, it's that level of action and spectacle, and also just the epic storytelling that also is involved in the mythology, all of that stuff, that Lord of the Rings does so well. And Brendan, Lord of the Rings is
I was going to say you guys have lost me. The Lord of the what?
Yeah, it's this very, very important,
it's a very inside joke that the listeners don't need to know about.
Long story short, Brendan doesn't like Lord of the Rings, and I don't know how our friendship has survived. But point is like, yes, these things like this where you can see that influence, but like in the best way possible. But Eric, you like Lord of the Rings, so I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings, and what you just talked about, like the history lesson, reminds me of the War of the Ring prologue that you get.
Yes.
So just so good, and Zach has a history of working with extremely fit people, and this is no different because, my goodness, the people in that sequence are jacked. But this is very much like this is very Diana focused and Aquaman focused. I feel like we once we get past the first chapter, we focus on specific members of the League for a couple of chapters.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's Diana and Aquaman, and I love the moments we get with both of them. I am still shocked that we got a Funko Pop of Diana in her white dress with the arrow.
Oh my God, did we? I don't remember that.
It's like that sequence. I was so curious what it was going to be that we got a Funko Pop of it, and turns out she had her little Indiana Jones moment where she got to go through a temple. But yeah,
I did wonder how she got access to that. Like, was she able to just kind of wander in, or
she kind of just is worst security guards in the world.
I mean, she had her Louvre credentials, and they're like, "Oh, that's good enough. If you work in a museum, you can go do whatever you want.
You're good." Yeah, she seemed like she was sort of sneaking, but not too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, my biggest nitpick of this chapter, and this is gonna happen a few times through this movie. And it's not a big thing, but the sequence with Aquaman where he saves the guy from the capsizing ship and he takes him to the little village. The musical cue that kicks in, I'm not a huge fan of when he's like going out to the water.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this thing where a lot of people pick on James Gunn for his eclectic musical choices. Zack Snyder exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And he has some eclectic musical taste too that he likes to put in some of his movies. And some of them I just don't get, and this is the first one. Because it's a pretty badass sequence and I don't feel like the music fits it.
Bro, let me stop you right there. I am so with you. I'm so with you on that. I actually really like the song he chose at the beginning when Lois was going to Heroes Park. I think that song is like really fitting for just that very, very somber, sad thing where she's mourning. This is such a weird choice. I love the sequence. And again, I love the visuals, him walking out into the water and just being just engulfed by the waves. I think that's great. The song choice is so bizarre. And that's true for a couple moments in this movie. There's just a few musical choices where I was like, huh. Okay.
And I know the point that the song is, there's a kingdom, there's a king, they're talking about Arthur. I understand. But just because it has some verbiage in it doesn't necessarily mean the song fits the moment.
Yeah. I'm completely with you on that. And you're like, you think about like, again, Watchmen, there's some really eclectic music choices in that, but I think they mostly work really well. This one, not so much.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, Steppenwolf's intergalactic Zoom meeting is really cool.
I love it. I love that we get Desaad. I love how he looks. Desaad is a great example of where they took the comic design and then alienized it. Like they tweaked it just enough to make it fit into this version of what Apocalypse would be, but he's still unmistakably Desaad.
His voice is creepy as hell.
And he's such a bitch, and I love it.
He's so smarmy. Yeah.
But yes, like that moment, again, watching this for the first time and then revisiting it, like when it melts away and it's Desaad. First of all, what a cool device to use, that like monolith that then melts into his face is really neat. But yeah, like his design is great. The personality is there. You want to slap him, but in a good way. Yeah, it's a really great world building that I really love in this version.
And he also uses the mother box to do that, which I know the mother boxes aren't technically like they are in DC canon in the comics in this movie, but I like that little touch of he's using the mother box as a communicator, which is what they primarily do in the comic.
Yeah.
And
then Brendan, thoughts?
Oh, look, for the sake of time, I won't bang on too much. Like, you guys have pretty much covered everything. The history lesson's fantastic. The DC lore of it all. I appreciate the flaming arrow and that sort of element of it as well. Like, just, the Olympic guy, sort of like the old ancient Olympia feel to it and everything. I always get a bit of a kick out of. But yeah, no, it's an interesting chapter in that, like, it's just world building, a lot of God, I'm blanking now, like Joe, like a lot of setup and things like that. you know, that may not have necessarily had to be there if DC had gone the Marvel route and we had, you know, several movies leading up to this. You know, we could have hit the ground running a little bit more, but that's not to say that I don't like it. It's a really cool chapter, and I dig it.
So, Brendan, which of the 3 Lord of the Rings battles does this most remind you of?
The one at Hogwarts.
That's a good one.
Excellent.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that the other thing that you get in this chapter that I really love is the Bruce and Diana relationship. I love their chemistry in this. I love their partnership in this, and you really get to see it here. It's a little flirty, but not too much. And the two of them are just great together. And so some of those more understated moments of them working together, catching up, talking about recruiting, talking about the history of Apocalypse, I think that they're just great on screen together. And so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Agreed.
Agree.
That was one of our favorite moments from the original trailer, was them two just having that conversation about Aquaman saying no and all
yes
that.
That exchange is terrific, and I was glad it was in the trailer, and I love it in the movie where what did he say, yes and no,
more or less,
or yes, more or less, more or less, more or less, he said no. And we were chatting earlier today about this. It's those little lighter dialogue, conversational moments throughout the film that I think really work in this one. And I do think that it was a really good choice, coming from BVS to this, where it just got, just that little extra seasoning of making it a little more playful, a little bit lighter, not too far,
Yep.
We know what that looks like too, not too far, but just enough that I think that it actually came together really nicely. And it's scenes like that show it.
It's a nice progression.
Yeah. So we get the big history lesson. It's epic. It's badass. It's amazing. But they do manage to drive Darkseid away. And that brings us to part 3, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. And so this is where we, you just mentioned, Eric, that part 2, catching up with Diana, catching up with Arthur. Part 3, we finally get to meet Barry Allen and what's going on with him. We also get to meet Victor Stone and what's going on with him. And something you just said, Brendan, is very true, is like, Justice League had to do a lot more heavy lifting in setting up the rest of the characters, because going into this, we had only met the Trinity, and we got, and I guess when Wonder Woman had her own film, but Barry and Victor are the ones we knew the least going into this. So we also have to cover a lot of ground to get up to speed with them. And this chapter really does that. We meet Barry. We see that he's stretching himself too thin. We see him working multiple jobs. He's trying to get a job as a dog walker. You get the amazing sequence, the slow-mo super speed sequence of him saving Iris. You also see what's going on with his dad when he visits his dad in prison. The fact that he cannot move on with his life because he's so trying to help his father. And at the same time, you see Victor Stone and you get that whole almost standalone sequence of Cyborg's story, of where it started, what happened, and where he is and what he can do, which is pretty wonderful on its own. Also in here, you get the Bruce recruiting Barry, which was the sequence that, it was in all the trailers. It was the one they promoted the most. And frankly, I think for good reason. I think there's a reason they put this one out there, because it's great. It's fun. And it definitely showed like, hey, we're not afraid to have a little fun this time around. And the sequence is that.
Yeah, they had to drop it as like a PR thing, like quite early on.
Yeah, well, this was the thing. So if you remember, summer of 2016, so just a few months after BVS and all the fallout, they were shooting Justice League, and they invited all of these journalists to come to the set. And this was the sequence that they let the journalists watch, because they knew that this is the one that they wanted to get out there. And then, and then as soon as it was done, it was the one they showed at Comic-Con and everything. You've got Alfred teaching Diana to make tea, as well as you get the backstory for Bruce's gauntlets.
The tea thing's another one where it's like, really? Do we need to film this, Zach?
It's cute, but yes, like, if we were trying to get this theatrical length, that's the first thing that goes. But it's cute. I appreciate the back and forth between Diana and Alfred. But same thing with the gauntlets. It's like, we got to explain why the gauntlets can absorb the energy. You don't, but you did, and that's okay. And then you also have Diana reaching out to Victor and trying to recruit him, but Victor's not ready to do so. Steppenwolf interrogates the Atlanteans, and so he is hot on the trail of the next mother box, and that leads him to then find the mother box in that Atlantis stronghold where we meet Mara. We also get to meet Jim Gordon in this part, just with him in the police headquarters, and the other cop is like, I don't know, this is the sketch. Does it look familiar to you? And J.K. Simmons is Jim Gordon, one of those amazing castings that we only got two scenes out of 3.
It's 2 in this one. We had that extra one in the theatrical that's not here.
Yeah. But yeah, so you get a little check-in with Jim Gordon, which is awesome. Steppenwolf gets the cube down in Atlanta, so we meet Mara. Mara, she fights her damnedest, and got to give her credit for doing her best against Steppenwolf, and then Arthur shows up. Again, seeing Arthur go toe-to-toe with Steppenwolf, just him, and do pretty well is actually also a pretty good shot across the bow of showing what Arthur is capable of, but it's not enough because Steppenwolf gets it. And then in here is also where Barry joins Bruce. They come back to Gotham. They're met by Diana, and then the signal comes on, and it's another one of those moments that I really like where he's like, oh, that's your signal. That's your signal. It means we have to go, right? And I love Affleck's, yeah, that's what that means. Like, his very understated, but still kind of funny little reactions, I think are really great. So this is a pretty packed chapter. There's a lot that happens in here with meeting Barry, getting to know Victor, Barry getting recruited, Steppenwolf getting the other cube, Mara, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot happening. But Brendan, I'll give you first shot at it.
Well, look, this chapter opens with one of my favorite scenes of the movie, which is, when we meet Barry, and obviously, what happens, and he needs to save Iris. From the first time I watched this, 5 years ago, I just fell in love with this scene. I'm a sucker for, good romantic story. And I know you guys have teased me about it a lot. This is the scene that I love so much, but I do. I'm watching it again the other day. Like, I don't cry every time, but it just, I don't know. There's just something about it that I love about those two characters. And I don't feel that it got, fully fleshed out or really explored in the Flash movie, but Barry, he sees the love of his life. And I said to you guys when we were chatting the other day in the messages, like, the song does a lot of the heavy lifting for me in this scene as well. You were talking about song choices before being a bit random. This one to me is perfect. When he's so gently holding Iris, and, he's putting her in like a safety brace position and everything. And, as the lyrics are saying, like, here I am waiting to hold you. And you can see the moment where he just absolutely falls in love with this girl. And we know that they're going to end up together. They don't know that. Barry doesn't know that at the time. But I love how gentle he is with her. And Ezra, say what you will about Ezra Miller, all that out of movie bullshit aside, he is just so great in that scene and just very tender with her. I don't know. There's just something about it. It appeals to the romantic in me a lot. And, for a movie that's full of awesome, just Batman moments, let alone the rest of the league, this scene's still, right up there for me as one of the best scenes in the movie. I absolutely love it. But, as you guys were saying, like the rest of the stuff, it's got Jamie's favorite scene with Steppenwolf having a robotic spider. Which in the original episode he said he checked out because, that was the spider. He was done.
Which in Australia is just Thursday.
Yeah, right. But no, look, I love all the stuff that we get, you know, Bruce meeting Barry, and you know, it's some of the really light-hearted stuff that works really well in this movie, in a movie that is very serious. Barry definitely brings some comedic relief, and I think he does it well. And look, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, the absolute highlight for me is always going to be Barry saving Iris, so I'll let you guys cover the rest in more detail.
Well, real quick, I think you just made a great point that's worth saying out loud. Is again, like Ezra Miller being, let's say, challenged off screen. Sure. Let's set that aside. He is so good in this. He is so
and this was before all that too. Let's be honest. Like this was all before all that.
And you're right, like he has to bring the lightness and the fun and the charm because no one else is. And again, that's not to say they don't have their moments, because they certainly do. But like, he has to do a lot of that heavy lifting himself. You know, Arthur is fun in his own way, but not like this. So like,
he's gruff, badass fun.
Yeah, it's up to Barry to be the comic relief. And I don't mean that to minimize, again, anyone else in the movie, but like, because of that, a lot rests on him. And I think that Ezra Miller steps up admirably and does a great job of, again, bringing that lighter touch. And he's really good. He's really fun. I don't think he's annoying at all, and he's funny without being ridiculous or annoying. So like, I think that's really great. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
And he's also us in a lot of it too. Like he's the outsider, you know, seeing the, you know, not necessarily in this chapter, but seeing the Batcave for the first time and just absolutely being blown away by, you know, by all this stuff that, you know, he's seeing. He's a young, you know, what, early 20s? Like he's a young kid. He's in with these he's with these gods among men, and he's thrilled to be there, but he's not hiding the excitement. He's fanboying in real time with what he's seeing, and it's hilarious.
Well, I mean, in just the moment that, again, we saw 1,000 times before we saw the movie, of here's Batman in front of him asking for help, and he goes, "Stop right there, I'm in." Yeah, you're here, I'm down. And and again, that would be me. And then later on, you go, "Oh shit, what did I get myself into?" But in the moment, Batman's asking for you to join his team. Heck yeah, you're in. I love that. But yes, we know you love the Barry saving Iris sequence, and I think it is a very cool sequence. For me, the issue is the exact opposite. For me, the song is so weird. It doesn't work for me. I find it just jarring. So yeah, that's that. I'm like, what a cool sequence, but like the song choice for me, I just think is a little odd. So Eric, I want you to be our tiebreaker here. Does the song work for you?
It doesn't.
Okay, it's me.
You guys just aren't romantics.
No, it's this. I understand completely what you're saying about the lyrics. The lyrics match what they're going for, but it's the way it's presented with the song itself that doesn't work. I watched that sequence today, and I'm like, oof. I love the scene, but I don't love the song. Sorry, Brendan.
Yeah, okay. I could see that song being very divisive, and I'm glad it works for you, Brendan. In all seriousness, is, you know, joking around. I'm glad, but for me, I'm like, like, I love the sequence.
Is it too on the nose with the lyrics, or like?
No, I think it's the vibe of the song. Okay. It's like there's this car crash, and he turns, and instead of it being exciting or scary, or it's like it jumps into this really weird slow ballad, and I'm like, to me it just doesn't fit.
See, to me it's because he's seeing everything so slow, and it's the moment he falls in love with her, and so a soft ballady love song works, seeing it from Barry's point of view, where it's not moving fast and it's not this big action moment. It's a tender moment of him meeting this girl who he just absolutely, in the moment, you know, love at first sight.
I'm curious what Joe thinks, because I don't think I've ever talked to him about this.
Well, I mean, shocking everybody. I agree with Brendan.
We're tied again.
And I think it's because, I mean, you know, Eric would rather have like Sweet Home Alabama playing or something, because it's got to be something, you know, on the nose that everyone knows. I'm not a needle drop guy. So if I hear a needle drop,
you don't like vinyl.
Well, so me personally, I would prefer most movies to not have any pop songs. So when they have a song that's like a classic song or a traditional song, stuff like, or stuff that I'm maybe not familiar with, I prefer that. And I think I agree with Brendan is that I think it fits the vibe to what Zach is trying to convey emotionally in that scene. I get where you're coming from, Andy, where you wanted it to be more of an exciting moment, but that's not what they're trying to go for.
No, and like, don't get me wrong. I don't want it to be like Born to Be Wild. Like, I don't want it to be something like that either. It's just
My preference would have been score.
It's the juxtaposition that works for me, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I can get on board with that, Eric. I can get on board with like maybe it should just stay a score.
I think that would have worked better for me as well, Eric, is if it had been the score. And again, it makes sense that it would slow down because time has slowed down. That's fine.
And that's always my go-to.
It's just the song is just so treacly and like it's I find it so bizarrely out of step, and I'm just like, oh, weird.
And I don't know if the scene made me love the song or the song made me love the scene, but to me it works. I'm with you with the Aquaman one. I'm not crazy about that song, but again, I think it works. Like, it's just not my thing. Where like, I am happy it's not, again, this is going to sound more mean than it is, but I think like me and Andy have agreed with the James Gunn stuff. Like, if his songs are good, it works awesome, but if they're not, they miss bad. You know, with this, I think even if these miss, it's just like, I wouldn't have gone with that. But it doesn't take me out of it because it's not a weird pop song that I don't like, or I don't know. But I love the Barry scene the way it is. I think the song works really well. I would always prefer not to have any pop songs in these movies. I think, but because it's a classic song, it's not like a moment in time. It doesn't take me out of it. And I don't know. I am the romantic. I could pretty much echo almost everything Brendan said. And we joke about it all the time, but I think that is why me and Brendan do bust each other's chops all the time, because we are very similar with a lot of our, tendencies. And with that scene, this whole chapter, I mean, honestly, as much as I do love that scene, I don't know if you guys want to move on or if I can start talking about the cyborg stuff.
Keep going.
I just quickly, Andy, I wanted to mention too, this is the chapter that has C. Amanda Maud in it, who we interviewed.
Yes,
it does. Yep. Speaking of the cyborg sequence.
Yeah.
This chapter, and again, we talk about every chapter has like these crazy action beats. And in this chapter, you get the action beat with the Flash. And you get, now is this the one with, this is the sequence with Steppenwolf going to toe and toe with Aquaman too, right?
Yep.
But I feel like the scene stealer in this chapter is the emotional stuff with Cyborg and the waitress. And that's the stuff where in a 4-hour movie, you can take your time with this.
Yeah.
I don't think you can, I mean, does it really do anything for the plot? No. But it does a lot for his character and for what his powers can do. And they probably would have cut it down a little bit, but I'm sorry. I don't know if it's just, as we get older and you start thinking about things way more, having kids, having a family, something about that waitress just being on hard times and being desperate and having to put that formula back. I couldn't imagine being in a situation where I could not get food for my child or come home and realize you don't have a home. And I'm getting kind of,
but still has the heart to give money away to, people less fortunate than her on the street.
Yes. And then to be Cyborg and have that, and it's kind of a weird like irony or juxtaposition, because like he's talking about the monologue from his father is talking about what you shouldn't do, and he's like, no, I'm going to do it. So I don't know if that's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be like, no, this is a time where I can step in. And I just love that, like, he can do that. and he's going to do it. And, you know, the moral ramifications of that aside, I don't really care. I think just the fact of seeing this woman, just seeing her bank account go from like, I think it was like $12 or something to,
Yeah, it was
you know, I think it's like
$11 and
insufficient
change,
funds,
which just
um,
it breaks your heart just seeing
to,
that.
you know, to you winning the grand prize, and now you're set. And it's again, these are the quiet, heartfelt moments that makes me love Snyder movies, because yes, of course Snyder is known for his visuals and for his action and all that stuff, but his movies do have a lot of heart, and they make you think a lot about stuff like this. And that's, you know, this movie to me has everything because of scenes like this. It has the humor, like you guys were talking about Barry. Barry brings the humor. The humor comes from the characters in this movie. Nobody is out of out of their place in this movie with the way they're acting to try to inject humor. The humor comes from natural places. They're not just random jokes here and there. It's natural stuff. It's subtle stuff. It's fun stuff, but it's not over the top. But then you get the humor, you get the heart from this scene, which again, you don't need this scene in there. But I love that we have it. And I don't even want to know if we would have gotten this or not, because I can't imagine something like this not being in this movie. Because when I remember sitting at home watching this for the first time, even the first time I watched this, I got choked up because I couldn't believe that like this was in a Justice League movie, something like this. So again, that's where I wanted to gush about in this scene, in this chapter, because I think this is probably one of my favorite things in the movie. And again, giving Flash and Cyborg this chapter to really focus on them, because they're the two that we really don't get anything from before this chapter. It's, I don't know. There's a lot to love here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and yeah, this sequence is such a standout for all those reasons, but it is also one where Cyborg is the character that needs the most introduction.
Mhm.
You know, even the Flash, like, yes, we need to know this version of the Flash, but people still know, oh, the Flash is fast, right? Got it.
Yeah.
And there's still a little bit of that other stuff kind of, baked in the conversation between Barry and Bruce, but Cyborg is the one where not a lot of people are super familiar with him. So he did need this, just so we know, what happened to him and what he can do and everything. But this little standalone Cyborg sequence is a standout. Like, just from the moment from the football game, like in the snow and the slow motion, it's just gorgeous. And I love that about it. And then you're right, there's just that heartfelt layer underneath with him doing whatever he can to still help people. And the way it starts with even, he hacked into the school to help a friend with their grades because she lost someone or something. And then, him doing it in another way with then the waitress.
And it's a layer of Cyborg that I never really gave any thought to. Like, to me, he was always just like a robot guy. Like, he was a walking tech thing, and that's kind of cool. And, in terms of history as well, when this came out, like, he'd only been one of the core members of the league for like 6 years. He was still very, new to being one of the main members. So, and with the Flash too, like at the same time, like he had a very popular television series that was on at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't need to have that introduction, but to take those beats with Cyborg, I think is really cool. And it gave me an appreciation for the character that I'd never had before. I never thought about what he is actually capable of. He was just a robot.
Exactly right. He's a robot. He's strong. He can shoot lasers. Yeah, that's a superhero. But then you think about it in terms of technology today and how the entire digital world is at his beck and call. And you're like, oh shit, he can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, some highlights of this section for you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have covered the majority of it. I will say that the Cyborg section is my favorite section of this chapter, and just to juxtapose what we were talking about earlier with the Flash sequence, I think this is where score is used so well.
Yes, yes.
Because Junkie XL's score throughout the entirety of Cyborg's mini arc here is so good, because it goes from being so somber with the letdown of the football game and the car accident, and then you get a very hopeful swing to it when he is doing that, increasing the money in the waitress's bank account. So just want to touch on that. I thought that was awesome.
Well, since you brought it up, I will say, like, I do love this score, but I think that this rewatch is where I appreciated it the most. I really picked up and got so much more out of the score this time than I have in previous times. And maybe it's because I've seen the movie before and I can, focus on different aspects more. But the score is really terrific. And I love the Justice League theme that he created that really becomes a motif throughout. I think that's awesome. And I love that he has like a Justice League theme. He has his own Batman theme that I think we've talked about on the show before. Wonder Woman has she has her Hans Zimmer theme, but she's also given that
I'm not a fan of that one.
But it's funny because he's like, oh well, let me give it something else. I remember there were like even memes after this came out of like every time Wonder Woman appears on screen and it's like rhythmic singing or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciated a lot of those score moments throughout, and I think that this score is really great. And I'm glad, much like I'm glad Zack got to present his version of the film, I'm glad that we got to hear the Junkie XL version of the score because it really is great work. And it's pretty different from what I have known Junkie XL to do. And so I give him credit also for moving out of his box a little bit and doing something that is very fitting for the Justice League.
I thought he really displayed that he was a student of Hans Zimmer here.
Yeah.
More than he ever has before.
Yeah, very consistent.
But the big part that I noticed on this rewatch was the little foreshadow that I don't know why I'd never caught it, but I caught it in this viewing was the setup of the electron laser superheating the metal.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I've never thought about it before, but they talked about Ryan was telling Silas at Star Labs that they took a piece off of the Superman ship and it became incredibly hot when they hit it with the electron laser, which sets up what's going to come later. And I had never noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed that this time too. There's a lot of stuff like that I picked up on this time.
Well, because this in here is also where Silas gets abducted by the
Parademon.
By the Parademon. And they look great. And then that's what leads to the sketch that's very Batman-esque, where they're like, and then you also get the setup of kind of the tension between Silas and Victor with the tape recorder, which then sets up the ending as well.
Yeah.
Well, just to piggyback on Eric talking about the score, from what I understand too, so Junkie XL actually did the score originally, completed it, and then when they decided to do this version, he had to do a completely new score. Like he had to rework everything completely because the edit of the film was completely different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I love that he did come back and do that, because
Well, this one ends with Steppenwolf getting the Atlantis box, and now he's got 2 out of 3, and that leads us to part 4, Change Machine. So, we talked about the sequence with Barry and Bruce being one of the sequences they put out right on Front Street to be like, look, this is going to be fun. Forget about your misgivings with BVS. Come see this. The other one is the rooftop meeting with Gordon, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. That was another one that they shot, that they invited all the journalists to. It again was showcased in trailers and things. And we finally get Bruce in costume, right? So it ends with Cyborg joining them. So his talk with Diana went well. And then that leads them to go underground because they figure out, all these connection points, they don't connect to anything above ground. They all connect underground. So that's where Steppenwolf is. And so they go underground. Steppenwolf learns that Earth is where the anti-life equation is. Also sets up why this world is even more important to Darkseid than he originally thought. We know that Cyborg has the last mother box. In here is something that I kind of forgot, where he buries it with his mother. That one, that I completely forgot. But yeah, so he buries it. Again, that's one of those things where it's really like, you don't need that, because when he shows up with it later, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, once Steppenwolf realizes he knows where the anti-life equation is, he calls Desaad, and Darkseid is like, oh, anti-life, I'm joining this call. And so we get Darkseid now. And so that is really great. And then Yeah, there is a lot that happens here. Oh my gosh. Because for some reason in my brain, this ended with the underground battle. It didn't. The underground battle is like in the middle of this chapter, and then there's even more that happens. So, yes, the big underground battle with the Nightcrawler, and that ends with Arthur showing up, and then we've at least got 5 of them. And when they realize that Cyborg has the final box, they all get together. They survive that battle. Steppenwolf is gone, and they start talking about what the box is and what the box can do. So we get another little history lesson, but this time about the box, and we learn how it kept Victor alive and what it is. It's a change machine, the name of the chapter. And it's not good or bad or evil. It doesn't do that. It just changes things. And they realize what is really in there and what it can do. And Barry has the moment where he goes, we're all thinking the same thing, but is somebody going to say it? I don't want to say it. And then you get that hologram of Superman, and you realize that Superman is the thing that is missing here. I also love the moment where Bruce even says, he's like, we know that we need Superman because the box refused to call to Steppenwolf until Superman was dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they used the box to save Victor, and it didn't matter. It still didn't call to Apocalypse until Superman died. And so they're all standing there. They're thinking this. This is where we get the scene between Lois and Martha.
Yep.
A terrific scene between Lois and Martha, then immediately ruined. And then finally, we revisit the League around the box once more when they realize, no, we have to try this. We have to try to get Superman back. And Bruce has the great line of, there is no us without him. And part 4, man, we get amazing action with the underground battle. If you go back to 2 episodes ago when we talked about our best scene, worst scene in all the different Batman movies, me and Brendan both agreed the underground battle is our favorite. There's a lot of great scenes in here. Don't get me wrong. A lot of great scenes, a lot of great sequences, but that underground battle is just like so freaking badass. From the moment that you see Batman jump off the Nightcrawler and that music kicks in of nah, 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 and you're like, oh shit, here we go. And boy, does it deliver. But yeah, a lot like raising the stakes with the anti-life equation, the 5 members of the League finally all coming together. Yeah, so much good stuff in this chapter. And I want to say is that rooftop meeting with Gordon and Batman and the Flash and Wonder Woman and then eventually Cyborg, that is another one of my favorite scenes in this movie. Again, it's not a surprise why they highlighted it so much in the marketing in either version, because it's great. It is so Gotham-y. It is so Batman-y. The interplay, the dialogue is so good with all the characters. I just absolutely love it. And we've waited almost 2 hours to see Batman. And when we see him on top of that gargoyle, ooh, boy, howdy. Oh, that one of the best shots of Batman on film ever.
Yeah,
you should have just obstructed them with the white tarp. I don't know why they left that shot the way it was.
It's madness. It's madness.
Yeah, you want to make a Batman fan happy. Put him on a gargoyle.
You're damn right. You know, like, come on. We don't ask for much.
And I love the Flash's reaction when he sees Cyborg. That makes me laugh every time. I don't know why.
The shifty eyes.
Just he gets like, no, he jumps, doesn't he? He like gets scared. He like actually like jumps out of his shoes like when Cyborg walks up.
But yeah, I mean, and like when, you know, Batman jumps down and Wonder Woman is there and then the Flash zooms in again and the 3 of them kind of come together. It's just that moment where you're like, oh man, this is just so good.
Like the way Batman lands, something so simple as that. And like he does it again when he gets out of the Nightcrawler. Just the way he lands, it's like it's animated series Batman, it's comic Batman, it's everything. And we'd never seen that before.
Let me interrupt, and you guys can talk about it, but I think we should start with the Martha thing so we can end on something fun.
Great.
Because we're going to just talk with the... I want to talk with the battle, because the battle is so much more fun, but let's get the Martha thing over with.
Yes, let's.
What movie are we
Because even me,
about?
the biggest Zack defender, is not a fan of it, so...
Do you guys think it was always the plan, or is this something he added in when he had carte blanche?
So we know it wasn't the plan.
Well,
no. Okay.
So we don't know that because there was a shot. He had a storyboard of that prior to this being released.
Yes, he showed it in one of those watch-alongs.
Yes.
Okay.
So we don't know though if it was this moment or not.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part is so we know that the ending was supposed to be Jon Stewart.
Green Lantern, yeah.
So is it possible that he changed this to Martian Manhunter to set up Martian Manhunter at the ending? Or we know that he had a plan for Martian Manhunter to begin with. So I don't know. It seems so out of character for Zack to do this. Like with all the care he put into Martha and Lois's, characters, and that whole conversation is just so perfect. It just seems like, how could he have not known that this would be undermining of that?
Yeah.
I have no problem with Swanwick being Martian Manhunter. I think that is fine. Is it a retcon? Absolutely. I think Zack's even admitted that it's a retcon. It was never the plan, but it works. I'm okay with that. It's just the part of him being there at that moment. I just wish it wasn't there. I don't think there's a reason for it.
Well, I'll pile onto that because I think I have a hot take on this one. I think that Martha in this sequence not being Martha and being Swanwick is just as egregious as the over the top thirst trap joke in the Martha and Lois conversation in the theater.
Dude, I totally forgot about that until you just brought it up, and I don't even like that I now remember that.
But that's my thing. I think both are egregious because they both undercut what should be a wonderful interaction.
That you can't even compare the two.
No, they're very different, but I get your point.
Yeah,
I get your
where you're
point.
coming from.
It takes you out of the scene no matter what, but I totally forgot that thing even existed.
Yeah. So because I do think, like, if I could edit, if I had the magical tool that Andy was talking about earlier, I would cut that out.
Because you don't need the setup for Martian Manhunter at the end. I think it's fine to just have him come at the end.
Agreed.
Yeah, totally. Like, and that's why I don't think it was always the plan, because it is so obvious that the dialogue between Martha and Lois was supposed to be Martha and Lois.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, it just seems so weird.
And nothing that Martha says makes sense if it's not Martha. Nothing. Yeah. Like why is Martian Manhunter being like, yeah, I got an apartment by the diner? Why would Martian Manhunter say that? Why would he know that? It's absurd.
Or I think you brought it up before, Andy. Did they talk about this meeting when they met later on?
And then they get together in the cornfield. I sure hope he didn't say, "Oh, good to see you. It's only been 2 days. What are you talking about? I wasn't there." It's awful. It's awful.
Or Martha's dead.
So yeah, it's like keep the scene between Lois and Martha and just cut out the Martian Manhunter reveal. And I'll go one step further and go, no, Stanwyck should not have been Martian Manhunter the whole time. Go watch Man of Steel and tell me how that makes any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent with it. I can understand the frustration. I don't. I get it. It doesn't make that much sense, but I like the character, so I'm willing to go with it. That's more where I'm at with it than defending it. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he was Martian Manhunter the whole time, there's no way he doesn't help Clark in that first movie.
Right. So yeah. Okay. I mean, I know that we all agree on that. And you're right. I don't think I've ever seen anyone say, no, that's good. Mm-hmm. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Maybe they're out there, but I'm just, it's one of those things where you're like, what were you thinking? That aside, let's just push that aside. There's so much other good things in this part aside from that. So Joe, I don't know if you wanted to keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hijack it. I just figured let's get that out of the way. But I mean, the action scene. We want to go right to that because
it's amazing.
Yes,
it's so good. So much. Fantastic. I mean, to see 4 out of the 6 league members, and I think that's what's so cool about this film. I mean, do we want more of all 6 members together? Yes, absolutely. But I like that each action beat with the league, it just keeps evolving and evolving. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, and finally seeing the 4 that we've now seen together fight together and have so much, because again, I think it has to be a smaller fight to give Batman more to do, to give the Flash more to do. I think that's where it becomes difficult when you have all 6 of them, because they are so powerful that the lesser powerful ones will kind of be shortchanged. So I think it was smart to kind of, break it down and just have the 4 of them for this fight. And that's why we get so many cool beats with them, and just more one-on-one fighting, and everyone gets this, their special moment. Flash has the moment where he flicks the sword back to Diana, and the look on his face as he's so proud of himself. And this is probably the most Batman action that we get that is awesome in the movie, because I mean, in the big final battle, like, there's so much other stuff going on. There's really not much for Batman to do. I mean, he has moments, but he gets way more to do here. And as Batman fans, that's what we've come here to see. But I mean, even the Wonder Woman stuff is much more prevalent here, because Superman's not here. So Wonder Woman is the strongest one.
Well, and a couple nights ago, Brendan was watching this and he sends us a message, something about the like, oh my God, in this movie, Ben Affleck is just like the most perfect Batman on screen, or something like that, right?
It was this scene. Yes. It was absolutely during this scene.
Yes. And I'm watching it, and from the rooftop that goes right into this scene, I was like, oh, this is what he's talking about, because yes,
it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Dude, I
is amazing.
Forgotten about it, and I was literally, I don't know if you're going to edit this episode or not, I was literally like, fuck yeah, at one part, like, when he just roundhouse kicks that parademon, that's so awesome, and I'd totally forgotten about that, but, I mean, it's, he uses the grapple gun and, like, tucks the legs up and the cape billows out, and he does that, another superhero landing, and just lays waste to all these parademons. It's so freaking cool. And Affleck, I mean, he looks good in BVS as well, but just that slightly trimmed down suit in this movie, oh man, it doesn't get any better. It truly doesn't. In terms of Batman live action, this is still the pinnacle. It's Affleck. It's scenes like this and the Martha rescue. We've climbed Everest. Like I want more of this moving forward.
Yeah. And like we've had no shortage of action up until this. Again, we had the Wonder Woman sequence, we had the history lesson. Like, there's been some cool action. But here, where we finally get 4 of them together, and then eventually the 5th joins at the end, it's like, this is why we're here, and boy, does the sequence deliver. Something as simple as when they have to cross that broken bridge.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that.
And they each cross in their own way. It is so simple, but so satisfying. Like the way the Flash just, and he's over there, and the way Batman uses grapple to get over, and Cyborg flies. Like, just that is just so freaking cool. And so, yeah, this whole sequence, man, like, I freaking love it. It's great. And it continues to build as you get those little moments. Like you said, the Barry flipping the sword back to Diana, or when Barry stops all those rocks from falling on the hostages. Like, they're just there's great stuff in here. Batman taking on parademons. Come on. Like, awesome stuff.
And the bridging the gap where he jumps, where Batman goes across that gap you were just talking about, Andy, he has so much Batman swagger.
Yes.
Because every time his cape opens, it's just so, and it's perfect.
Yep.
And he goes across that gap, and it's just like just enough time for that cape to go all the way out, and it looks like a scene where you're gliding in one of the Arkham games, and it's like, oh, that's perfect.
And that's the thing. Like, you can say Keaton's your favorite. You can say Bale is your favorite. Like, stuff like that. It's. And I'm not going to fight you on it. They're really great in their own way, but they're kind of doing their own take on it. Whereas to me, Affleck is Bruce Wayne from the comics. He is Bruce Wayne from the animated series, and and his Batman is the same. It is ripped directly from the page. They're not doing their own take on it. They're not, not tweaking things or overthinking things or making things hyper realistic. He's freaking Batman. He just is. And yeah, like like I said, it doesn't get any better than this with live action Batman.
I can't argue with you on that. It's true. It was awesome. Yeah. The underground battle, just freaking great. And again, punctuated at the end with Aquaman's entrance. Awesome. The other thing, it was earlier on that it was worth mentioning is I also appreciate how when Volko shows up, they really set up the trident and even the suit where he's like, take these. These are supposed to be yours. And in that moment, Arthur's not ready to take them. So then when he shows up with them, it's just also a really great moment.
We didn't mention the silly air bubbles. How they talk in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Another thing I could do without. And look, if that's what Zach wanted to do, fine. But and I know Andy, you're the same. Like the continuity purist in me is just like that's yeah. We've got 2 Aquaman movies where they don't need to do that. Why are they doing it here?
Well, I don't think that's a continuity thing. It's just you could very easily headcanon that they didn't feel like doing air bubbles all the time. Like that's not a continuity thing. I actually appreciate that Zach is like, I'm going to do my thing. James Wan, you're doing your movie. Do your thing. Like you want to do something different. Do something different. Who cares?
I remember that being a little point of contention because Aquaman was going into production as the theatrical version of this was coming out. And they asked him and they're like, oh, like the air bubble thing is kind of weird. Are you going to do that? And he goes, they're just going to talk. and I mean, to what you were just saying, Brendan, it's like, sometimes you don't have to overthink it. Sometimes they can just talk.
They can just talk.
Yeah. The air bubble thing didn't really bother me when I saw it, but it is a moment of like, yeah, you kind of overthought this. You didn't need to do it. What bothers me more is the fact that when there's not an air bubble, they seem to be talking in dolphin to each other. That's the part that's
yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't even notice that half the time, but you're right. I never noticed that until it was pointed out to me. I didn't even realize that's what they were doing.
Yeah. But anyway, that aside, I appreciate kind of them all coming together. And again, another one of those scenes that is not as flashy, but makes me happy is just seeing the League stand around that box, trying to figure out what to do next. And there's another great line by Affleck or Bruce when he says, that's just a strategy to lose slower.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's great. Where he's like, we need something else. And I just think that's awesome.
That helps us lose slower. We need something to win, something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I just want to, so you mentioned before about how, like, how do we know that Superman can win? And they go, because the mother box knows. I want to give a minute to just talk about the script, because for a Justice League movie, this could have been a very just cut and dry, mediocre script. They really took the time to make everything work with this. Like having the thought out reason for why we're being attacked at this moment. Why did they wait till now to attack Earth?
Yeah.
It's because the Kryptonian died. Like everything had a reason behind it. And even the mother boxes being the MacGuffin, I know, they're not technically done this way in the comics, but I think they did a good job of making it work for this film and this script. And I just appreciate that they didn't take this script lightly just to get to the Justice League coming together for reasons. They thought it out. They're like, I hate that Superman isn't in the beginning of the movie, but I do think there was a story reason for it. And I think that is because they feel Superman is so powerful that they needed a reason for his return to be impactful and to see how the League would struggle without him first.
Yeah. Well, and also like that is set up at the end of BVS. And so it's great that it carries over into this film. Like even earlier on, there's the conversation between Bruce and Alfred where Alfred's like, just because Lex Luthor gave that warning, you really think this is happening? And so just kind of, again, refer back to the ending of BVS with what happened with Lex. And then Bruce being like, no, it is coming. I know it is. And here's why. I just think that also, like, the storytelling in that is really strong of, Lex said it at the end. He said, the bell has been rung because Superman is dead. That's how the movie starts. And then here being like, we know we need him because they weren't even comfortable coming here while he was alive. And now we're stuck here. So you're right. There is great internal logic as far as the storytelling goes. And I know I kind of was joking about the gauntlet thing, but even that they were like, well, if Batman's going to be deflecting blast from parademons, how does his suit do that? Well, let's write a reason for it. Do you need
How
it?
does Batman not die in this movie?
I don't need it, but I'm sure there are some people out there who are like, would have said, hey, wait a minute, since when is Batman suit laser proof or whatever? And so, they put it in the movie.
And it is kind of cute how excited Alfred is that his gauntlets worked.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman giving him crap for it.
Yeah. I just want to call out, we were talking about Steppenwolf's armor earlier. I love the reverence from Steppenwolf when Darkseid appears.
Mm.
Because the armor just peels away from him like a knight taking off his helm or something like that. I thought that was awesome and well done.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're left on that cliffhanger of they're going to try to bring Superman back because there's no us without him. And that is the end of disc 1. So I think, Joe, you mentioned this is where the intermission was going to be, I guess, or they have shown this in theaters.
So they showed it in theaters, I guess, for the special event. Obviously, I mean, I didn't get to go. But from what I understand is there was a thought process to have an actual intermission. There was actually an interlude score made by Junkie XL to play during the intermission of this movie. And they did play it in the theater when people were shown this. I just don't remember what part it was at. So I don't quote me on it. I would assume this would be a good part for it. I think the fact that it goes from disc 1 to disc 2 here is probably not a mistake. I think Zach probably had a saying in that. And it just seems like the natural point for that.
Yeah. Well, this is where the disc breaks. And so this is where we'll stop this first part of our conversation for Zack Snyder's Justice League. But already 4 parts in, and there's a lot of great stuff here to love, but we're going to keep talking about it. We're just going to do it over on The Fire Rises. I don't know if we want to give some sort of thoughts about, chapters 1 through 4 before we move over and complete the film. Joe?
I mean, up until this point, I think when I'm watching it for the first time, I'm like, man, we still got an hour and 40 minutes left. Like, this is incredible. We just got 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I think I remember saying like, oh man, it's taking a while for Superman to get back, but we still have a good amount of movie left. And we got a lot of great movie already. I mean, we basically get 2 Justice League movies in one movie. So yeah, part 1 is pretty solid and can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Awesome. Brendan, what about you?
I mean, look, Barry rescuing Iris in the underground battle, like just full marks, absolutely brilliant. And, I said it took me 5 weeks to watch this movie, which is not really true, but, I watched the bulk of it 2-3 days ago now, and just sitting here talking about it and everything, like I could go back and watch all 4 hours now, absolutely, and not be bored at all. Like it's so good.
Excellent. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, agreed all around. This is 2 hours and, what'd you say, Joe? 2 hours and 20 minutes for these,
I think so.
First 4 chapters. I mean, you've got 20 minutes longer than the theatrical, and we're not even nearing the final battle yet. And
it's wild when you put it that way.
it is, and you would think that's a bad thing, but it really isn't in this situation, because there's so much depth and so much storytelling in these first 4 chapters, and it's just leading to an even better conclusion. So I'm excited to talk about the rest, but damn, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. It is crazy to think that we've already gone through a full film's length of material, and then we still have another half to go. But what's amazing about it is that, yeah, it's over 2 hours. That is how long another movie would be. I am never bored, even though there is a ton of setup. There is a ton of exposition. There's a lot going on. I am never bored. I am always fully invested in it, whether it be a quiet character scene, a character introduction, exposition, or a badass underground battle. It all is so much fun to watch. And I'm never thinking, let's move this along. So that means that they're doing their job. That's what's crazy to me, though, is like, this is a 4-hour version of it that never would have been released in theaters if Zach had done the final theatrical version. And even though we've even joked that there are a couple things that you could probably nip and tuck, I would have a really hard time finding 90 minutes to cut out of this to make it, to make it a feasible 2.5 hour theatrical release. That is so hard. So, I do wonder what that would have looked like, but we
Take a
don't
lot
have
of
to
the
worry.
slow-mo out, you probably save about 40 minutes right there.
Well, there you go. But regardless, yes, like I am never bored, and it's only half the movie so far. It's only disc 1, and yet I'm fully invested and having a great time. A lot like one of my favorite movie series, which is Lord of the Rings.
Agreed.
So, all right, well, let's wrap up this first part of the chat around Zack Snyder's Justice League so we can finish the film over on The Fire Rises. Thank you guys as always for joining, and thank you gentlemen for joining me, and we're going to keep talking in just a minute, but we're wrapping this one up for now. So Brendan, thank you. Fun stuff. Anything you want to add, where people can find you, any of that good stuff?
You can find me on Facebook in the Real Fans groups and on Instagram.
Terrific. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, same thing. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, J411, and over on The Fire Rises.
Great. Eric?
Yep. Most of the social media platforms, if you can't find me, I'm not there. But most of them, it's me, Carter89. And then my show, The Fire Rises, with Joe, my co-host, is TFR Bat Pod on most of those social media platforms.
Awesome. I already told you guys where to find me. So thank you as always for joining us, for downloading or streaming the show. Please do follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And again, don't forget, for the second part of this conversation, to wrap up Zack Snyder's Justice League, go over to The Fire Rises, a Batman podcast, and check out the next part of this chat. What else? Find and follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. We are not doing the Wayne Manor mailbox today, obviously, but if you've got something you'd like to send to the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Let us know. Does the song work for you when Barry saves Iris? We need some tiebreakers in here. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And that'll do it. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Brendan, Eric, Joe, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
You guys just aren't romantics.
No, it's this. I understand completely what you're saying about the lyrics.
Hey, honey, am I romantic? I play with your boobs, right? That's right.